So the next pay-per-view is coming up very soon, UFC 285, and it's a stacked one. Headlined by Ciryl Gane versus Jon Jones and Valentina Shevchenko versus Alexa Grasso. We are also going to be having 2 pay-per-views in March, which is a load of great fights right next to each other. And that UFC 286 card is amazing as well. I'll probably make its own video, but for this one we'll be focusing on UFC 285, which is not only going to have those championship fights, but it's also going to have Geoff Neal versus Shavkat Rakhmonov. Very exciting fight, a step up for Shavkat. And Geoff Neal looking to show that he's able to knock down these younger guys coming up. Jalin Turner versus Dan Hooker is insane. I just really hope Hooker is ready for the fight. If Hooker's on point, this is probably the most entertaining fight of the whole card. But man, if he is not, Jalin Turner is going to rip right through him, and I hope that doesn't happen. I hope both guys are on point, it's a competitive fight, and they just go at each other. There's so much potential offense between them two. The fight has a lot to live up to, man. Nickal's going up against Jamie Pickett. A big difference in MMA experience, where Jamie Pickett is going to be the first opponent for Nickal to have double-digit fights and has fought multiple times in the UFC. Definitely a step up, at least in experience, for Nickal to handle. Cody Garbrandt versus Julio Arce is an interesting fight. Definitely a stylistic matchup for Cody Garbrandt to do well against, but you never know with him. The skid he's been on, I don't know if he's in the right mental state. He hasn't fought in a while. We also have Brunson coming back to fight Dricus du Plessis. Definitely looks like this is the change of the guard. At least that seems to be the plan here, where Brunson just lost and Dricus du Plessis looked really good against Darren Till. Or is it that Darren Till looked really bad against Dricus? Vivian Araújo versus Amanda Ribas is going to be really fun, and Julian Marquez versus Marc-Andre Barriault is going to be an absolute barn burner. That's a great banger of the night. Ian Gary's on the card fighting Keenan Song. That's an interesting one as well. So overall on paper, man, this looks like a solid 8 out of 10 card. Excellent card, man, but we're going to have to see how it actually performs. Maybe I'll have a different rating for that one. But if we start with that main event, man, Jon Jones versus Ciryl Gane is an interesting fight, where it's going to be Jon Jones, after not fighting for nearly 4 years, in a division he's never competed in, up against the heavyweight young, striking phenom Ciryl Gane, who's going to be matching his height, his reach almost. He's going to be fast, he's going to have a different kind of power that Jon Jones is used to fighting, but lacking the wrestling skill that can ultimately do Ciryl Gane in. When it comes to striking, you would have to probably favor Ciryl Gane, especially Jones coming off such a big layoff. But Jones might have different kind of power. He might be fighting a bit different. He's not training at Jackson Wink anymore, so we might see a different kind of striking style from Jon Jones. But man, I just don't see him getting past that technical style of Ciryl Gane. Gane's footwork is definitely going to be his line of defense when it comes to defending takedowns. If Jon Jones gets on his hips or gets him in the clinch, things can get pretty rough for Ciryl Gane. I mean, everybody already knows that Francis Ngannou, who's nowhere near the wrestler of Jones, took down Ciryl Gane pretty easily. But Ngannou is a very big, strong guy. Jones is going to be pretty heavy going into the fight most likely. I believe he weighs in like the 250s to 260 almost. And if he comes into the fight with that kind of size, it's definitely going to help his wrestling, but will it help his cardio? Is he going to be able to go 5 rounds? Because Ciryl Gane definitely can. And if Gane could defend himself on the ground long enough, things can get pretty dicey if Jones starts gassing. The level of fight IQ that Jones brings into the octagon is definitely the most interesting thing about the fight. What is he going to do in the stand-up to handle that striking? Or is he just straight up going to take this to the ground right away? I'm so much looking forward to this fight. It is a bit unpredictable, but you would have to probably side with Jon Jones going into it. Valentina Shevchenko versus Alexa Grasso is an interesting fight, but it seems like another Shevchenko fight. Grasso may show some things with her hands. Her boxing's pretty nice. She is tough. She is well-rounded, but her major strength against Shevchenko is going to be her boxing. But ultimately, I think the kicks from Shevchenko, her counter punches might be a bit of an issue. Her speed may be a bit matched from Grasso, who was a 115 fighter. But I think Shevchenko's dynamic striking style is going to be a bit too explosive for Alexa Grasso to handle. And whenever she gets that body lock, the fight's going to get tripped to the ground, and I believe Shevchenko's going to have an advantage down there. So I'm looking to be surprised by Alexa Grasso, just like we were with Taila Santos. And maybe Shevchenko is getting older. That 34-year-old age at flyweight is going to be a factor at some point. But I just wonder when that's going to take place. Geoff Neal versus Shavkat Rakhmonov is my second most anticipated fight on the whole card. Geoff Neal has fast hands, good combinations. He does have one-punch knockout power, but tends to like to throw them in combinations instead. It will even line up multiple different left hands in a row, which can really mix up the timing and the angles of the punch for the opponent to defend. But there is a bit of an inconsistency with Geoff Neal's approach to a fight. Sometimes he's just way too patient, way too passive in the fight, and I think that would hurt him against Shavkat. But at the same time, if he's too aggressive, Shavkat would be looking to counter him, especially that check left hook, some jabs here and there. And the faster he can feel out the fight, feel out the range and the speed of Geoff Neal, I think the more in trouble Neal is going to get. There has to be a bit of a mix for Geoff Neal when it comes to being passive and when it comes to being aggressive. And 100%, the fight gets taken to the ground, Geoff Neal does have a relatively good takedown defense, but not necessarily against a good wrestler besides maybe Belal Muhammad, who Geoff Neal defended 7 takedowns against. Every single takedown from Belal was defended, so that is a bit promising going into the fight. He also dropped Belal twice in their fight. But Shavkat is a different kind of wrestler. He's also much different with his stature. He's tall and long, and I don't think he's going to have as fast of a shot as Belal does. But being that long and keeping range at all times is going to force Geoff Neal to get in on him, which can naturally expose takedown opportunities for Shavkat. If he just tries to draw Geoff into a takedown, things can get really dicey really quickly. I ultimately would have to favor Shavkat, but that is a more difficult fight than a lot of people are expecting. Now, Jalin Turner versus Dan Hooker, man. Knowing how these two guys are performing as of late, I'm not too confident in Dan Hooker, man. He just hasn't been the same since that Dustin Poirier fight. I know he had a decent win against Claudio Puelles, but he's just so much slower than Jalin Turner. He's shorter, which is very rare for Hooker. Turner's gonna be switching stances on him, constantly kicking at his legs, and Hooker does keep his front leg out there. He tries to engage with his hands, and I think he's just gonna get beat to the punch every single time. It's a tough one, man. If this was prime Dan Hooker, this is a very close fight, but Hooker right now is way too slow in my opinion. Turner's like twice as fast. He hits harder. Hooker always keeps his hands down, and from that distance, man, he's gonna get sniped at. Bo Nickal, I'm expecting to just run right through Jamie Pickett. Jamie Pickett has a bit of an issue when it comes to wrestling, and Bo Nickal's submission game is no joke. He's a young, fast guy. I mean, his takedowns come out so explosively, and his setups are nice too. That overhand he landed in one of his fights into the takedown was beautiful, and I think he can hit the same thing against Jamie Pickett as well. I don't think Pickett is ready for that kind of offense. Should be a really good night for Bo Nickal, man. Derek Brunson versus Dricus du Plessis. This can turn into a wrestler versus striker matchup where Dricus is usually striking in his fights and Derek Brunson gets wild with his hands, and he is being a lot more passive when it comes to his striking to not expose that chin, but as soon as he does, the fight could be over. Dricus has great power. He has very awkward timing. He's able to hit opponents at moments you don't think he's going to land, and the Trevin Giles knockout was a perfect example of that. He did kind of get taken down by Darren Till once, and that is never a good sign even if Till can get you down. Derek Brunson is a way better wrestler than anybody Dricus has fought in the UFC, but his shots could be somewhat obvious. I'm going with Dricus. I'm going with his opportunistic finishing ability and taking out the old vet.